As part of the traditions of the day Perahera, on the previous night of the final Randoli Perahera, the Perahera relic casket shall be placed reverentially at the Adahana Maluwa or the Gedige Vihara in Askiriya, and the day Perahera commences from the Gedige Vihara itself.
The day Perahera ceremony of the Kandy Esala Perahera is held on the 11th day of the festival and is remarked as the final procession to take place as part of the annual Esala Perahera festivities. Much popularly known as the Dahawal Perahera, this special procession has its own special characteristics that differentiates itself from the Kumbal and Randoli Peraheras that we saw over the past 10 nights.
On the previous night, after the conclusion of the final Randoli Perahera, one would assume that the Perahera actually concluded just like the nights before. But the final Randoli Perahera is a different conclusion. Walking up front are the whip wielders led by Mr. Upali Jayaratna.
When looking back at history, at the ancient times, it was the ruling king who would parade the streets in the Perahera. But now it is the Diyavadana Nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic of Buddha, who will walk the streets.
We now see the arrival of the Buddhist flags represented by the Pallekele open prison camp.
A priority in the Kandy Esala Perahera is to reflect the unity of Sri Lanka as a nation, which in here is symbolized by the national flag that was leading the army of Buddhist flags.
The white-clad flag bearers remind the people of the way that the Dhamma impacted their lives. From the sacred tooth relic was brought to the island. Coming back to the story of the day Perahera. In fact, the royal Tusker, who assumedly concluded his street perambulations on the right time on the previous night, surprisingly reorganizes a Perahera to proceed towards the Askiriya Gedige Vihara. Now we see the Peramunerala on the mount of the elephant Gajaba belonging to Mr. Ratnasiri Arangalla of Veyangoda.
And now you're seeing the Hevisi troop walking down in the procession of Dahawal Perahera.
Hevisi is the main sound offering, and here we see the main Hevisi troop representing the 4 lineages affiliated to the Sri Dalada Maligawa. Next is the Gajanayaka Nilame, the royal official in charge of the king's troop of elephants, and this afternoon he shall be on the mount of a lavishly costumed elephant.
And now we are seeing the West Dance Troop escorting the way for the sacred tooth relic, which is gracing the Dahawal Perahera.
The special Perahera, which is known as the Gedige Perahera, is merely a smaller version of the grand Randoli Perahera, which was glamoured with few elephants and dance items, which proceeded down through the Dalada Vidya, take a turn down to the DS Senanayaka Vidya, and head straight to the Askiriya Gedige Vihara, which is also known as the Adahana Maluwa. Here we see the Karya Karavana Korala of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, walking ahead of the majestic royal troop of Tuskers. This afternoon, the Perahera relic casket shall be carried by the Tusker Singharaja, belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligawa, who is accompanied by the tune of Nagasingham being played in front as a tribute to the royal Tusker, who shall walk on the white carpets under the decorated canopy. These are the chamber of versifiers who shall sing and glorify the virtues of Lord Buddha, followed by the devotees with flower lamps.
And now we see the second West troop who are escorting the way for the Diyavadana Nilame, the lay custodian of Sacred Tooth Relic.
This afternoon, the Diyavadana Nilame, Pradeep Nilangadala of the Sri Dalada Maligawa shall take his majestic strides down the day Perahera. West dancing shall always keep its pace when welcoming any royal dignitary, while that marks the end of the Dalada Maliga Perahera with the representation of the 10 village chieftains or the Gamdahe Vidanevaru, we shall see the commencement of the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera.
Commencing the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera, we now see the Buddhist flag bearers. And they are being represented by the Civil Defence Department of Sri Lanka.
It is the ancient tradition that the Perahera relic casket needs to be reverentially kept at the Gedige Vihara on the final night after the Randoli Perahera, which will be taken out on this day Perahera. This temple that belongs to the chapter of the Asgiriya under the great Siam Mahanikaya that governs the Sri Dalada Maligawa is known as the Adahana Maluva or cremating ground, since it was in fact the royal cremating ground of the Kandian kingdom.
And now we are seeing the official heavy troop of Sri Mahanatha Devalaya.
A specialty of this Gedige Perahera is even the requilleries of the Satara Mahadevalaya too joins the splendor of the soft procession which shall parade all the way down the Gedige Vihara and head back to the respective shrines once the relic casket is handed over to the custodian monks of the Gedige Vihara. Here we see the first chieftain of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya carrying the flag of Senkadagala on the mount of the elephant Bibila belonging to Mr. Udara Galapatti of Kiriyulla.
And here we are seeing the arrival of a Raban dance troupe, the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera.
main ritual that is held on the 11th day, which means today, is the Diyakapima or the water cutting ceremony, where the 4 ceremonial elephants of the 4 Devala shrines shall leave the Devala together at the early auspicious time towards the bank of the Mahaveli river in Gatame, which is known as the historic Diyakapana Tota.
The ceremonial elephants shall carry the rituals with the priest on their mount, and once the water cutting ceremony is over, the rituals shall be reverentially brought from Gatame down the Katukale Video to the historic Pullayar Koil in Kandy.
This is the Gajanayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya on the mount of the elephant Kanchana belonging to Mr. Udara Galapatti of Giri.
And here we are witnessing the arrival of the first West Dance troupe of Sri Mahanatha Esala Perahera, and they are welcoming the arrival of the ceremonial elephant who will be carrying the godly ornaments of God Natha.
This afternoon, the ceremonial elephant of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya shall be Bandara, belonging to Mr. L.L. Tilakaratna of Kegol, and Bandara is accompanied by Kandula, belonging to Venerable Devalekama Dhammasena Theru of the Tissa Maharama Raja Mahaviharaya, and Kueni, belonging to Mr. Mahinda Millangoda of Kegol. The ceremonial elephants shall carry the requilleries with the priests on their mount. And once the water cutting ceremony is over, the requilleries shall be reverentially brought from the Gatame Bay to the Katukale Vidya to the historic Pullayar Koil in Kandy.
And this is the arrival of the second West Dance troupe of Sri Mahanatha Esala Perahera, and they are escorting the way for the Basnayaka Nilame of Sri Mahanatha Devalaya in Kandy.
Here we see the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, AWS Bandaranayaka, gracing the day Perahera with His Majesty. marking the commencement of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera, comes next.
As the commencing act of Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera, now we are seeing the arrival of the state flag bearers.
The water cutting ceremony is an age-old ritual that marks the end of the Perahera, where the priests of the 4 Devala shrines will slash the current of the flowing water with a sword, and the first swirl of water that emerges from the sword slashing is collected to a pot, which will be carefully kept at the Devalaya till the next year's Esala Perahera festival.
The lining up of the day Perahera is much different to the commencement of the evening Perahera. The 5 ceremonial tuskers and other elephants shall dress up at the designated dressing points of Sri Dalada Maligawa.
The first elephant of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera is Taraka, belonging to the Rankadupatini Devala in Kaduwela.
And this is the arrival of the official heavy troop of Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya in Kandy.
The heavy troop is followed by the elephant Muthu, who rides the Gajanayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya. Muthu is the elephant represented from the Badulu Mutiyangana Rajamahaviharaya.
And following Muthu, we are now seeing the arrival of the first West Dance troupe of Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera. They are escorting the ceremonial tusker who will be carrying the godly ornaments of God Vishnu.
This afternoon, the requiraries of Lord Vishnu shall be carried by the elephant Kandulatissa of the Sabaragamu Mahasaman Devalaya, and Kandulatissa is accompanied by Rani belonging to Mr. Deepthi Kumara of Biyagama and Vasana belonging to Mrs. Krishanti Alapatha of Ratnapura.
The processions of Natha, Vishnu, Kataragama and Pattini Devalayas shall lead in the procession down the Kadu Kale Vidya, Dalada Vidya, Kotugodalla Vidya and Kanda Vidya till it meets the junction point of the D.S. Senanayaka Vidya. This is the moment in which the Dalada Maligawa Perahera shall proceed out from the Gedige Viharaya along the D.S. Senanayaka Vidya and Raja Vidya, and the 4 Deval processions shall follow as usual. The Perahera shall perambulate 3 times around the temple square of the Sri Dalada Maligawa till it reaches the auspicious time of conclusion, when the royal tuskers shall walk up to the Mahabahalkada and thus concluding the day Perahera.
We now see the troupe of West dancers who are welcoming the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala in Kandy. And this afternoon, representing the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala, we are seeing the Basnayaka Nilame Asanka Ranavana of the Ganegoda Kataragama Devala in Doluwa.
As it marks the end of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera, now we are witnessing the Buddhist flag bearers as the commencing act of Sri Mahakataragama Devala Perahera.
Followed by the peacock flags, here we see the elephant Sankaraja belonging to the Sankapala Rajamahavihara in Abilipitiya, carrying an official with the flag of Ravana.
And this is the official heavy troupe of Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya, Kandy.
The subtle beating of the Daula, Tammattama and the Thalampata surely creates the ambience of Hevisi, which was unique to the Perahera festival.
And following the Hevisi troupe, we now see the Gajanayaka Nilame of Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya. And this elephant, who could it be?
This elephant is Sudumanike, belonging to Mr. Buddhika Mirihalla of Kadugannawa. The fusion of both Hindu and Sinhalese practices are surely the thrill of the Kandy Esala Perahera as seen in the procession of the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya. This is the arrival of the Kawadi dancers.
And this combination of different dance acts surely show the unity that we want to convey through the Perahera.
These are nothing but devotees showing their passion and dedication in devotion to Lord Kataragama.
following the Kavadi dances, this is the arrival of the first West dance troupe of Sri Mahakataragama Dewala Perahera.
This afternoon, the ceremonial elephant of the Sri Mahakataragama Dewalaya, who shall carry the requilleries of Lord Kataragama, is Esala, belonging to the Pirisyala Senanayaka Mudalindarama Pirivana. Sankaraja is accompanied by the elephant Aruna, belonging to the Handala Rajamahawihara of Wattala, and Vijitaraja, belonging to the Dibulagala Rajamahawihara of Polonnaru.
And this is the arrival of the second West troupe of Sri Mahakataragama Dewala Perahera, and they're escorting the way to the Basnaik Nilame of Sri Mahakataragama Dewalaya.
The West dancers are welcoming the Basnayaka Nilame of Sri Kataragama Dewala in Kandy, who is represented by the Basnayaka Nilame of the Morape Kataragama Dewala, S.K. Ratnayaka. Interestingly, it is still not the end. The Diyavadana Nilame, the four Basnayak Nilames of the Satara Devala shrines and the Pitisara Devala shrines shall ceremoniously walk to the President's mansion to hand over the scroll to the President himself to acknowledge the end of the year's Perahera festivals. This is the procession of the Sri Mahapattini Devala in Kandy.
And we can see now the West dance troupe welcoming the arrival of the godly ornaments of Goddess Pattini.
The requilleries of Goddess Pattini shall be carried by the elephant Parami, belonging to Mr. Samantha Vijayamanna of Medagoda, and Parami is accompanied by Rani, belonging to Mr. Richard Gonakumbura of Balangoda, alongside with the elephant Manike, belonging to Mr. H.R. Nishanka of Kegor.
This is the next West dance troupe of Sri Mahapattini Dewala Perahera, and they are welcoming the arrival of the Basnayaka Nilame of Sri Mahapattini Dewalaya.
Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Mahapatini Devala in Kandy shall be represented by the Basnayak Nilame of the Wallahagoda Pataragama Devala in Gampala, Srimat Bandara Velivita. Maybe it's just another wait of 12 months till we get back to Kandy to witness the glamour of the Kandy Esala Perahera. The final segment of this afternoon's procession shall be the carriage of the palanquins.
Indeed. This is a festival where people always wait for that year to come and to witness this glamour and grandeur always. So,
Till next year,
Exactly.
may you all be blessed by the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha.
Dalada Samindu Pihitai.